Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of World Panorama with me, Frank Rausan Pereira on Rajya Sabha Television. Over the next half an hour, I'll bring you a roundup of all the significant events that have happened around the world this week. But first, a look at the headlines. Europe's retaliation takes US trade tensions to the next level. EU imposes retaliatory levies on $3.3 billion of US goods. Splits emerge in White House over threats to economy. Trump counter-threatens with steep auto tariff. United States pulls out of UN Human Rights Council, calling it a cesspool of political bias, accuses body of hypocrisy. Decision taken a day after top rights official criticizes US over migrant children issue. Nepalese Prime Minister holds in-depth talks with Chinese President. Both nations signed 14 agreements, including key connectivity deals during KP Sharma Oli's visit to Beijing. Greece and Macedonia sign accord to end 27-year-old name dispute. Both nations sign agreement to rename Macedonia as the Republic of Northern Macedonia. Deal paves way for Skopje's admission to NATO and the opening of accession talks with the European Union. Well, Chinese Premier Li Keqiang held talks with Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli on Thursday in Beijing as both nations agreed to enhance cooperation. China and Nepal signed 14 agreements, including one on railway construction in the Himalayan nation. The railway line is expected to connect Tibet with Nepal. Chinese Premier Li Keqiang said that his country is willing to work with Nepal to build an interconnectivity network across the Himalayas through the projects in ports, railways, highways, aviation and communications. The two sides signed 8 agreements worth $2.4 billion, ranging from hydroelectric to water resources projects, cement factories and fruit production. Nepal and China also agreed to strengthen people-to-people relations, partnership in tourism sector, exchanges of socio-cultural in various sectors and coordination and dialogue on major international issues. Li said China is willing to make joint efforts with Nepal to inject new impetus into bilateral ties and cooperation. The agreements came after Sharma Oli's extended talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping during his visit to China. Well, India has said that matters relating to India-Pakistan relations are purely bilateral in nature. Reacting to the Chinese envoy's comments on Monday, the Ministry of External Affairs said that there is no scope for involvement of any third country. The MEA further said India has not received any such suggestion from the Chinese government and that the statement by the envoy is his personal opinion. Chinese ambassador to India had proposed trilateral talks among India, China and Pakistan on the sidelines of the SCO summit. Chinese ambassador to India, Lao Zhaohe, has said the future of India-China relations is crucial for the region. Addressing a seminar on Beyond Wuhan, how far and fast can China-India relations go, the Chinese ambassador proposed a trilateral dialogue between India, China and Pakistan on the sidelines of the SCO framework. India and Pakistan have become full members of SCO this year. He said, and I quote, "Some Indian friends suggested that India, China and Pakistan may have some kind of trilateral summit on the sidelines of SCO. So if China, Russia and Mongolia can have a trilateral summit, then why not India, China and Pakistan?"
Personally, I think this is a very good, constructive idea, and maybe not now, but in the future, that will be right direction. We should needed to do something to realize this idea. That's a great idea, and help to resolve the bilateral issues, help to maintain the regional peace and tranquility, and everything benefits for any country it's worth of us to do.
Chinese ambassador said that the spirit of the Wuhan talks between Prime Minister Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping was taken forward in the meeting of the two leaders on the sidelines of the SCO summit in Qingdao. He also said that bilateral ties between India and China cannot take the strain of another Doklam episode, while emphasizing on the need to find a mutually acceptable solution on the boundary issue. He suggested a 4-point agreement to enhance India-China ties, including Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation, negotiate free trade agreement, enhance connectivity and resolve boundary issues. He also stressed on the need for both countries to enhance cooperation in SCO, BRICS and join hands to tackle social challenges.
Chinese ambassador had come up with a similar idea last year when he proposed to rename China-Pakistan Economic Corridor to China-Pakistan-India Economic Corridor. This year, he has come up with the idea of China, Pakistan and India trilateral. What he forgot last year, the question of sovereignty of India, and this year he is forgetting the question of terrorism against India. China needs to be more sensitive about India's concerns. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person Jitendra Negi in Delhi.
Well, moving on now, the US President Donald Trump has threatened to impose a 20% tariff on all cars imported from Europe. Trump's warning comes after the European Union imposed heavy tariffs on various US manufactured products on Friday. In a tweet, Donald Trump said that if the heavy tariffs and barriers are not soon broken down and removed by the European Union, a strong 20% tariff will be placed on all of their cars coming into the US. Trump had initially imposed a high 25% tariff on European Union steel and 10% on their aluminium on June 1st, sparking off the trade war between both the global powers. The European Union has introduced retaliatory tariffs on US goods in response to Trump administration's decision to impose stiff tariffs on European steel and aluminium exports. Meanwhile, the United States on Tuesday announced its withdrawal from the United Nations Human Rights Council, citing bias against Israel. The announcement came a day after top UN officials condemned the Trump administration's zero-tolerance immigration policy. United Nations and top human rights watch bodies have regretted the decision taken by the US, but Israel has welcomed the move.
Accusing the United Nations of chronic bias against Israel, US withdrew from the United Nations Human Rights Council. The announcement was made by Nikki Haley, America's ambassador to the United Nations, and US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, calling the top human rights body a cesspool of political bias that targets Israel disproportionately while ignoring atrocities in other countries.
For too long, the Human Rights Council has been a protector of human rights abusers and a cesspool of political bias. Therefore, as we said we would do a year ago, if we did not see any progress, the United States is officially withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council. We take this step because our commitment does not allow us to remain a part of a hypocritical and self-serving organization that makes a mockery of human rights.
The UN has expressed disappointment over Trump administration's decision. In a statement, the global organization said the Secretary General would have much preferred for the United States to remain in the Human Rights Council. The UN's human rights architecture plays a very important role in the promotion and protection of human rights worldwide. China expressed regret over US's withdrawal from the UNHRC, saying that the image of the United States as a defender of rights was on the verge of collapse. Russia said US's withdrawal reflected its unilateral approach to global affairs.
人权理事会由联大授权成立，是各方在人权领域开展对话与合作、交流与互鉴，共同促进人权事业发展的重要平台。
But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised the decision and thanked Donald Trump for taking a courageous decision against the hypocrisy of the United Nations. Washington's withdrawal comes little over a month after the Trump administration withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal and a year after it withdrew from the Paris Agreement to combat climate change. The latest announcement came only a day after a top UN human rights official criticized Washington for separating migrant children from their parents who are seeking asylum after crossing into the country from Mexico. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but we'll be back with some more international news. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Watch Political Theatre with me, Vishal Dahiya, at 10 p.m. tonight, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Amid major immigration row, President Donald Trump has vowed to secure US's international borders and prevent people from illegally entering America. Trump adds that he wants only those based on merit to come inside the country. Trump, who earlier this week bowed to public pressure and reversed the controversial migrant family separations policy, made the remarks while hosting family members of those killed by undocumented immigrants at an event at the White House. He emphasized that his government's first duty and highest loyalty was towards the citizens of the United States, towards ensuring safety in the country and along the borders. He further said that the US wants people to come in, but in a proper way.
These are the American citizens permanently separated from their loved ones. The word permanently being the word that you have to think about, permanently. They're not separated for a day or 2 days. These are permanently separated because they were killed by criminal illegal aliens. These are the families the media ignores. They don't talk about them. Very unfair. Great Americans, people that your loss will not have been in vain. We will secure our borders, and we will make sure that they're properly taken care of. Eventually, the word will get out. We've got to have a safe country. We're going to have a safe country.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Chinese President Xi Jinping met in Beijing on Tuesday for their first face-to-face talks since Kim's historic summit with US President Donald Trump in Singapore on June 12th. According to Chinese state media, Xi lavished praise on Kim Jong-un for his handling of the US meeting. Kim and Xi have also reached an understanding on the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula after discussing the outcome of the US-North Korea summit. The two leaders also discussed measures to bolster strategic and tactical cooperation between the two countries in a second meeting. Noting that Kim has paid 3 visits to China within 100 days to meet with him, Xi said that the two sides have jointly created a new history of China-North Korea high-level exchanges. Kim said that the two countries are as close and friendly as family and help each other, adding that Xi has offered affectionate care and support for the people of North Korea.
习近平主席在同金正委委员长会晤的时候，习近平主席指出，朝鲜作出将工作重心转向经济建设的重大决定，朝鲜社会主义事业发展进入新的历史阶段。我们支持朝鲜经济发展、民生改善，支持朝鲜走符合本国国情的发展道路。
Meanwhile, South Korean President Moon Jae-in will visit India on July 9th this year to have first summit-level talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Ahead of his visit, a team of South Korean foreign ministry officials are in Delhi to brief the Indian side on the present situation in the Korean peninsula after the Kim-Trump meeting in Singapore.
The South Korean delegation headed by its Deputy Foreign Minister Enna Park interacted with the think tank in Delhi on Wednesday. The delegation will meet Indian Foreign Ministry officials on Thursday to brief them about the outcomes of interaction with North Korean leadership. While the South Korean Deputy Foreign Minister said that they want to take the relations between both nations to the next level, its ambassador said India can play an important role in bringing peace to the Korean peninsula.
Moon's administration, focusing on India's international prestige and infinite potential of growth, declared the groundbreaking new Southern policy to extensively strengthen cooperation with its Southern partners, especially with India. We would like to build a community for peace, which contribute to peace in Asia through security cooperation.
Has an experience in becoming a nuclear power, and you see, I think that a country like North Korea has a nuclear capacity with such an economic burden and with starving people. It's not good. Huh? So I hope that India could persuade them and also putting pressure on them.
Experts say the initiative from South Korea to upgrade relations with India is a welcome step from Indian perspective, as India expects South Korea to support its entry into APEC, a major economic forum of Asia-Pacific countries.
In this context, I think I'll raise one important point, which is the United Nations Security Council reforms. Foreign policy, because Moon Jae-in's foreign policy is really talking about peace and prosperity in the regions. And there are no better representation can be from Asia if India and South Korea can have a convergence on the issue, particularly on the United Nations Security Council permanent membership issue.
Products from Korean appliance makers like Samsung and LG are household names in India. Korea has been interested in investing in the shipbuilding industry, and the recent visit of Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari to Korean capital has raised hopes about both nations collaborating on various issues and playing a larger role in the Indo-Pacific region.
Since peace is expected in Korean peninsula after South and North Koreans started talking, many major players have to act, and India is one of them. Since India also has an ambition in Asia-Pacific region, it will be interesting and important that India-South Korea can cooperate beyond the bilateral tones. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person Dilip in Delhi.
Well, for 27 years, Greece and Macedonia have been bedeviled by one of the oddest disputes in international diplomacy, what the smaller, younger and landlocked country of 2.1 million should be called at home and abroad. While Greece worries that the use of same name could lead to territorial claims, here's a detailed report.
This is a historic step in order to only have winners from now on, in order to heal the wounds of the past, to pave the way for peace, fellowship, collaboration and mutual growth, not only for our countries but for the Balkans, the whole Europe.
Greece and Macedonia signed a historic agreement on June 17 to rename Macedonia the Republic of Northern Macedonia, ending a 27-year-old dispute between the two countries. Macedonia will also amend its constitution to reflect the change.
You cannot achieve anything without courage. Courage is the greatest valor, followed by honor. Hope is a dream when you are still awake. These quotes by Aristotle state that with trust, courage and hope, you can move mountains. My thought today, which I honestly share with you, is that by signing the final agreement for the name and for the strategic partnership of our two countries, we truly moved mountains.
The signing ceremony took place at the Precipice Lake region on the border in the presence of European Union and United Nations officials. NATO and the European Union welcomed the breakthrough, which NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said would help consolidate regional peace and stability.
Is first of all to thank the two sides, because they make us all Europeans proud of the capacity to find, through diplomacy, through dialogue, a win-win solution for a problem that was long-standing for too many decades, and that makes Europe more peaceful, more united, and that also opens the way for the entire region of the Balkans to live in a different kind of atmosphere. I hope and I believe this will be a source of inspiration for many in the region to take bold, brave, courageous steps, and also for the whole of Europe.
The process has been long, difficult, but I think working out these problems over a long period of time has resulted in an agreement that really is fair, honorable, and workable for the success not only of the relationship of the two countries, but as an example to the region, to Europe, and in fact the world, that two neighbors can solve a problem if they really work at it.
Greece had long demanded its northern neighbor to change or modify its name to avoid any claim to the territory and ancient heritage of the Macedonia region in northern Greece, birthplace of ancient warrior king Alexander the Great. The name dispute was an issue between Belgrade and Athens before the 1990s, when the People's Republic of Macedonia made up part of Yugoslavia. But it really came to prominence in 1991 when the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia declared its independence from Yugoslavia. But the attempts to end the dispute have faced dissent in both countries.
Koja druga država posle nas će go smeni imето? Vo svetu. Postoji li takva druga država? Ja ne verujem дека.
Meanwhile, the Macedonian parliament formally ratified a landmark name agreement with Greece on Wednesday, paving the way for Skopje's admission to NATO and the opening of accession talks with the European Union. Macedonian President George Ivanov also opposes the accord. Under the constitution, Ivanov can return it to parliament for reconsideration but not veto it indefinitely. The agreement still requires approval from Greek parliament, which seems a difficult task as it faces stiff opposition from the Greek public. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. And finally, a 1,400-strong drone show illuminated the night sky of a northwest Chinese city to mark the city's 1,400th anniversary. The drones took on different 3D formations such as a phoenix, gate tower and the Imperial Palace complex in Xi'an city. I'll leave you with a stunning light show that was part of a celebration of the cultural heritage city known as Chang'an in ancient times. Until next time, this is Rausan Pereira signing off.